Welcome to The Celebration, a place for leadership, inclusion, and expression. Let's snap it up for living the best version of ourselves.
I am Tom Earl. I'm with my amazing guest today, Wally B. How's it going, Wally B?
Going great, Tom. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be launching this with you. I feel like it's perfect. It's meant to be.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be your first guest.
Oh, my pleasure. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Walter Wally B. Jennings. I'm actually born and raised and based out of the Tampa, Florida area. I am the founder of Black on Black Rhyme Tampa, which is one of Central Florida's longest running adult poetry venues. I am the founder and executive director of the Heard 'em Say Youth Arts Collective, which was founded in May of 2007. It was established to identify, cultivate, and empower youth in activism and advocacy through artistic education and expression. And so along with that, we take a contingent of young people to an international poetry festival called Brave New Voices. We have been participating in B&V since 2010. And so this year will actually be our 7th time going. And we're very fortunate to be visiting the city of Washington, D.C. So we're very excited about that. In addition to that, I also am the co-host of a poetry radio show called Poetry Is, here on community radio WMNF 88.5, and also people can listen online as well. You don't have to be local here in the area to listen. You can listen at WMNF.org. So got my hands on a lot, very fortunate, but it's again really indicative of the progressive nature of spoken word, not just here locally in Tampa Bay, but really with what we've been seeing in the U.S. and really all around the world over the past really like 10, 15, 20 years.
Amazing. That was a great bio. Do you have that memorized? Was that just...
Well, I live it. So yeah, it's always at the forefront of my mind. And especially now with being a full-time artist, it's a dream come true. I've been a full-time artist now for the past 9 months. And so it really is an honor to devote all of my time and attention and talents towards not only my artistry, but really empowering other people and helping them to find their voice, but especially our young people, our youth. And so things like that, as far as with what I'm in, are always in the forefront of my mind.
That's amazing. So maybe people for listening, or I know for me, it's like, wow, that's so much and it's so amazing. Talk to me a little bit about the beginning. How did you start to get on this road, or a little insight, maybe just into one story or whatever you want to share about the journey? How did you get here?
So I am 39. I will be 40 December 30th of this year.
Okay.
And I started writing, and the reason why I bring that up is because I started writing when I was 12 years old. It was a 8th grade English assignment. Our teacher told us that we had to keep a diary. Guys didn't do diaries, we'll do journals. But we didn't do diaries. And so I started writing, and it came out very poetic as far as it flowed. And my teacher asked, could she put up some of my writings on the board, because she was very impressed by it. And it was one of the first things that I noticed that I had kind of a natural talent and gift for. And I didn't have to try hard or try to fit into a box. Like I could just be myself. And it was like I was acknowledged for something that came natural to me. And so that really encouraged me. And so that was 12 years old. Fast forward really almost 10 years later, when I'm in my senior year at Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, and I continued to write poetry, but I had never shared it before.
Okay.
And this was during kind of the height of the whole Love Jones, neo soul movement, where
Yep.
there was this fusion between spoken word poetry and jazz and R&B. And I was getting ready to graduate. I was 2 months away, and it was homecoming for Florida A&M. And one of the groups had a homecoming show. It was an open mic. And I figured that, even if I suck at this whole spoken word thing, I'll be leaving in 2 months. So even if I suck, hopefully I'll never see these people again. And, my best friend, who actually was a student. He was attending Tuskegee University at the time. He and we kind of shared the same path and experience. And so he was saying, Wally, man, you got to share your stuff, man. You know, people are really going to dig it. And I'm like, nah, man, because I got some really intense and crazy stuff going on. I don't think people are really going to feel it. Yeah. But I decided to share, and lo and behold, got a standing ovation. Wow. And what really stuck with me was after I shared, there was this guy who came up to me, real cool guy, and, you know, looked like he had it all together. And he said, man, I thank you for what you said, because I feel the same way you do, and I'm going through the same things you do, but I didn't think anybody could relate to it. So I thank you for saying what you said. And so at that moment, I realized that not only did I have an obligation to empower other people, and also to heal, do some internal healing for myself by speaking out with my issues, but also I recognized, and one of the things that I asked myself was, wow, what would my life have been like if I embraced who I was and really own my voice?
Wow.
At a young age. And that's really where the seeds for Heard 'Em Say were planted, as far as with giving young people a platform and a safe space to explore and to really be honest and forthright about their experiences and their life. And so from there, that was 1998. In 2001, I actually started Black on Black Rhyme. Interesting note about Black on Black Rhyme Tampa. Mm-hmm. We are the first night of Black on Black Rhyme Tampa was September 18, 2001.
Okay.
We were actually supposed to start, our first night was supposed to be Tuesday, September 11, 2000. Wow. So that was, you know, again, for me, what that came to represent was the whole idea that while certain things were being torn down and destroyed, there was also something that was being birthed out and created and cultivated.
Wow.
And so, you know, it's, you know, that date, obviously, it really resonates with this country and the world, but it resonates with us as well on a local level because of Black on Black Tampa.
Wow, I got shivers. That was amazing. Just to make sure I captured the question that you said you asked was, what would life be like if I lived my purpose and used my voice? Was that the question?
Well, what would my life have been like if I embraced my voice?
There it is.
And for me, one of the challenges that I had growing up was I really didn't like who I was, from the standpoint of there's this oftentimes box that people place us in.
Yes.
And for me, like, I wanted to fit in that box. I wanted to be the stereotypical Black male. I wanted to be great at basketball. I wanted to be great when it came to talking to girls. I wanted to, you know, dress the way everybody dressed. You know, I really wanted to fit in that box, but I always stuck out. Like, I always was kind of very awkward, you know, and I had problems kind of fitting in my own skin.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of things to try to fit in, and it never really worked.
Yeah.
And so what I found with poetry is that really got to the whole, that bottom layer of who I was internally and intrinsically. And so that was a really humbling revelation to come to that place, because by the time I got there, I had, you know, got involved in some bad habits, got involved in some things that, you know, I'm really not proud of, and picked up some things. And so, again, one of the ideas behind Heard 'Em Say is to give young people a space and a platform so that they don't have to hide behind those masks. They don't have to stay within the boxes that people try to contain them in of who they think that they should be.
Yes.
They can own and embrace their identity from the very beginning. And I believe that by doing that, we empower them to not only be who they are, but also to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that come along with trying to be somebody you're not.
Oh, man. Snaps. I love it. And I love how you highlighted that there's this box society tries to fit us in, usually through socialization of pressuring you or punishing you when you step out of the norm, and rewarding you when you try to conform by not punishing you. Mm-hmm. And I like how you illustrated that it's when we're doing that, when we're not being ourselves, that we find that we start to get into trouble and start to do negative things. But when you live your purpose, that high, if you will, that happiness that comes, is so centering. So I love that. I think, you know, from hearing you talk about poetry, I got to hear a piece. Do you think you could perform something for us today?
Sure, absolutely. So this poem actually is called Heard 'Em Say, and I wrote it to really honor the young people that come to the show, that find their way, that embrace their purpose and their destiny and their voice. But also I use it as a mechanism to inform the adults and my contemporaries the importance of embracing young people of where they are. And some of the things that our young people are experiencing and walking through, that they may not be really comfortable and open to talk about.
Yes.
So this poem is called Heard 'Em Say.
Okay.
And I heard him say that children should be seen and not heard, with little value placed in their words because they lack knowledge, wisdom, and understanding while standing in the need of prayer. Meanwhile, standing in the middle of nowhere, a teenage girl is angry at the world because her parents' marriage didn't live up to its vows, and now the only thing that she has left to believe in is written in her compositions and hidden between her baby fat jeans and her low-rise self-esteem. And she is absolutely certain that adults won't ever think to look there or care enough to ask her opinion. The only thing that we want to know is why are her grades slipping? Or why is she constantly getting phone calls after her curfew? What's up with all of these new friends in her circle? Who are these people? Anger is railing inside of her, but she speaks no evil. A diverse element whose words are irrelevant. So she uses her poems to paint pictures like a castaway singing signals in distress. But we're too distracted to see an SOS unless it's sung by Rihanna. Too infatuated with President Obama to understand that the change we can believe in rests with our children. But we keep feeding them Ritalin instead of discipline because who has time to kill? So our children learn early on how to pop pills, young and restless, but how do we expect them to sleep after being molested? No more sweet dreams thanks to the Pied Piper and Billie Jean, proof that money can buy anything if you add a price tag. Who's bad? A young boy's innocence is placed in a trophy case between the Elephant Man's bones and a Grammy. He has been sold out by his family, and his only therapy comes when he is writing in his spiral notebook. Yet we ignore him because he doesn't throw spirals or no looks. His pants and chain don't hang low enough. He is growing up hating his life because he does not fit within our stereotypes. So in order to cope, he writes. A discreet poet in the streets that promises to keep it concrete, but he's far from a hard head. He is so far ahead that he feels like he's behind because he's alone all the time. Commissioned in his mind not to let anyone know that he feels this way because he heard him say that children should be seen and not heard. So adults struggle to find the words to speak on their behalf. And I just laugh because courage and strength is ordained out of the mouths of babes. It's the birthplace of wisdom. But the problem is adults don't listen. Not like drug dealers, not like gang members, not like predators lurking on the internet. Flattering stories about shows like Juno and movies like 16 and Pregnant, and we still don't get it yet. Don't hear the agony and passion in our young people's actions. They are living out the answers to the questions that we are asking, but we're too deaf, dumb, and blind to see the signs before it's too late. But wait, because I heard God say, suffer the children and forbid them not to come, and woe to the ones that lead them astray or turn them away in the time of need, because the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. So please, bridle your tongue. Think back to how when you were young and you just wanted someone to listen. Ask your daughter, why does she write in her composition? Reassure your son that anytime he wants to talk about what he writes in his spiral notebook, let him know that you will be standing right here. Clean out your ears from the years of built up stubbornness and wax. The way our children will believe us when we tell them to talk back.
Yes, indeed. Powerful. There's so many lines in there that just, that was is that like the second track on one of your albums?
Absolutely, yeah. It's actually the second track on my first CD. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember listening to that. We were at the I think it's the Boys and Girls Club in St. Pete, on South St. Pete. You know what I'm talking about? The one that has the ballroom type thing.
The Royal Theater.
Yeah, exactly. And I got it from you after that. I think it was after Liz and Jimmy did something with elementary school kids.
Right.
I got that album from you, put it in my car, and was driving home. I was like, I almost had to pull over. It's just like, wow. So I was hoping you were going to share that one. So thank you so much for sharing that.
No doubt.
What are some lines in there for you that really resonate with you? I know each one's precious, but what are some lines for you that are really speaking to you?
So obviously, as a young man, the part where I say, we ignore him if he doesn't throw spirals or no looks. And that just alludes to, with young men, a lot of times we value them based on how athletically skilled they are.
Yeah.
For me, what I found is that if you weren't really, really smart or really, really athletic,
Yeah.
it's very easy to kind of fall within that gap and of just being lost
Mm-hmm.
or not feeling valued. And so that particular line really, really hit home with me because, as I mentioned earlier, and with some of the schools I went to, like some of the comments I heard were like, wow, I thought you'd be able to jump higher because you're Black.
Wow.
And, at the time, and to be honest, at the time, I really didn't recognize what was going on because I felt like maybe, I should be able to jump
Yeah.
higher. I'm a Black
Mm-hmm.
man. I see Michael Jordan. I see all of these great athletes, but, just really not at the time understanding and recognizing the face of stereotypes and racism and things of that nature at that young age. But again, trying to fit into that box of who I thought people wanted to be, of who I thought people wanted me to be.
Yep.
And falling into that trap is something that I never wanted young people to have that type of challenge, at least having something to counteract that.
Yes.
And for helping our adults to recognize that, listen, just because your child may not be a straight A student doesn't mean that they don't have value.
Yes.
Let's focus on what the skills and the gifts and the talents that they do have, rather than ostracizing and criticizing them for the things that they don't have, and comparing children, that kind of thing. What I've seen really just damages. It can do irreparable damage to a child and their confidence.
Yes.
And with a lot of them compromising themselves and their purity because they're just trying to acquiesce or tie into something that's going to make them feel accepted.
Mm-hmm. And once again, talking about society's pressure to put you somewhere and you have to be there, and the suffering that comes with that. And for me, one of the programs, I'm one of the directors at an organization called Free Arts, and we do creative expression and mentorship all over Los Angeles. One of the places we do it is the Children's Court in LA, and that's where young people in dependency court, where they're taken from their homes because some form of violence was committed against them by an adult in their life. And we do art while they're waiting for their court case. And so many kids that we work with have never even seen a marker. Like they're like, wow, what's this? Or glue. Like kids have never seen something glued.
Wow.
So it's like art is just not even an option to a lot of people. It's just not even a lot of young people today are growing up without even a teacher, like how you had in 8th grade.
Right.
So, on that note, tell me a little bit about Heard 'Em Say and the fundraiser you have going on.
So, as I mentioned, every year we take a group of young people to an international poetry festival called Brave New Voices. And so we're very proud this year that we'll actually be taking 7 young people from 6 different high schools in 2 different counties. So for me, what's really exciting is that diversity.
Yes.
That it's not 6 or 7 young people from 2 or 3 different. No, these are 7 young people from 6 different high schools and from 2 different counties. We have, which is the county that you did a lot of work in. We actually have a young lady from Pinellas County.
Nice.
With us, and she'll be the 3rd Pinellas County student that we'll be taking to Brave New Voices. And so we're in the midst of a fundraiser where we're trying to raise funds to get the young people there. We've already received our invitation from the Youth Speaks, which is the organization behind Brave New Voices. And we paid our registration, which was $1,500. And now we're in the process of trying to raise funds for the airfare to get them to Washington, D.C., which we estimated at about $2,500. And what's amazing about that, and again, going back to what you actually mentioned a few minutes ago about kind of that art life bridge.
Yeah.
I'm very proud that over the years, when we take these trips, for many students, a lot of them, it's their first time out of the state.
Wow.
It's their first time on an airplane. Brave New Voices was in Atlanta last year,
Mm-hmm.
and we drove since it was so close. And I had one of the young ladies, you may remember this when we were growing up, but when we got ready to cross over the Florida-Georgia line, she lifted up her feet over the state line.
Yeah.
It was her first time being out of the state of Florida.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, so little things like that, where it's, again, it's about the poetry and the art is great, but these are really critical life moments and opportunities where these young people and their palette and what they're able to recognize and see as the potential for how far their life can go, where those doors are open for them by just being able to make a trip like this.
Yes.
To be able to go to a Washington, D.C., and then to get to a Brave New Voices and meet other young people from a South Africa, from a Canada, from a Philadelphia, from a Los Angeles that share the same passion about art and poetry as they do. It just really does amazing, great work that we on the local level, that we really are adamant about doing. But when it comes to young people, obviously, when they see another young person doing it, or when they hear another young person doing it, it really helps to validate it with them.
Yes, indeed. Wow. Once again, just shivers. And, I just want to add a spiritual element to donation. As a Muslim, we believe that when you donate to something, any blessings that person receives, you actually get a share in.
That's right.
And so let's say you donate, and for the first time ever, a young person gets to travel and meet somebody. And then from there, they're inspired to go on and go to school and pursue helping other young people. You actually get benefits from all the people they then help, and all the people those people then help. So by giving $10, you could get unlimited benefits of good karma for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And again, I'm a firm believer in that as well. The law of reciprocity, which we call it in modern day vernacular, paying it forward.
Yes.
And, believing that those things are going to come back to you. And it may not always come back from the individual that you pour into, but the universe, God, he rewards you when you do make those investments in being righteous and doing the right thing and blessing others.
Exactly. So, this week when you're going to go to let's just say you're going to go to Starbucks or, something like that. Although I'm kicking myself for plugging that corporation. You're going to a local, you're going to go there. Why don't you just say instead, you know what, I'm going to brew coffee at home and give that $5 to heard him say. It honestly goes a long way. I've done poetry competitions myself. And there's times we were like, if only we had $5 more, we could all share a pizza. So $5 honestly goes a long way. So if you could even do that. What was the link? Where do people go again?
Sure. They can actually donate two different places. We do have a GoFundMe, and so you can go to GoFundMe, and it's HES Slam Team 2016. That's HES SALAM TEAM 2016. And so you can donate there. Our goal is there, and we're about halfway there. And I just want to take the time to say thank you to everyone that's taken the time to donate so far. Or you can actually go to our website and donate there as well. And our website is www.heardemsay.org. That's www.heardemsay.org.
Indeed. And to make life easier, we got all of that in the show notes. So if you're like, oh man, I'm driving, I can't write this down, then when you get parked, click in the show notes, everything's going to be down there. Otherwise send me a message and I'll get you hooked up with this. Indeed. And you have from now until when is it? July something?
July the 12th is when we head out to BMV.
So you have a month, and I just want to encourage people. What if you had a goal of $5 a week, that you could add it up like that? Or, it's Ramadan's going to be starting probably tonight. So that could be for us, you know, for Muslims, that could be one of your Ramadan goals is during this to really to donate to this cause, education and expression. What an amazing thing to support. So Wally B, what do you think? Another poem? Could we get one from you?
Sure. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out which one to do, and I'm trying to keep it brief and short and all of that. But yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. They think my verses are merely versions of fiction, that my lines are lies designed to impress, but I guess that makes it easier for them. I seem to only be as useful as the boxes they place me in, but I can't stay where I don't fit. Gifts are meant to be open. His word was spoken over me when I was a seed in my mother's womb. They brand me academic, but this was not cultivated in a classroom. In a world where cash rules, I am lactose intolerant. So the path of spilled cream, I don't follow it or shed tears. I was not placed here to chase paper. In fact, according to my Lord and Savior, blessings will overtake you when you are faithful with what you have been given. But we still envy others' position like we weren't all created in God's image. I guess that's why we fear our reflection. Embracing the power of projection, you only know what I allow you to see. But there's oftentimes a big difference between who you want to be and who you're supposed to be. Me, I'm more than just a poet. I am marred clay on the potter's wheel, forced to rebuild every time I get comfortable. So please, do not allow my wordplay to fool you. Don't become captivated by my metaphors. Clap and snap for my similes. Think that just because I'm deep, that life is sweet and we don't somehow exist on two different sides of the same dull penny. I gave up drinking, but I can still taste the Hennessy on my breath. I am a work in progress, like an IB student from the projects. My situation does not define me, but it all does beautifully factor into my designing and style. My haters think they're mad now. Just wait until they see me in a few years. One time for all of the people whose family never thought you would make it here. Two times for all of the mothers that made a mistake, but you still somehow found a way to graduate. Listen, you cannot write your problems away. Your issues don't disappear just because you talk about them on a stage. Get free is not just something you say on a microphone. Don't just go in, go home, because the way you live your life is the greatest poem you will ever write. And that's why I am more than just the poet.
Whew. I love that. That was powerful. What was that last line you said about it's the way you live your life?
Yeah, the way you live your life is the greatest poem you will ever write.
Wow. Talk to me about that. Where did that come from?
Well, again, the whole art, for me, like I've been exploring, especially working with young people, what you really find is that not just art and life, but life for young people holds the things that we as adults understand may not be as valuable, or for example, like social media and some of the things that aren't really a big deal. They really mean a lot to young people. Fashion means means a lot to young people. And it's the same thing with art, where a lot of the things that we hear, the expressions, the experiences, the things that they take the time to write about, they are a really big deal to them. And so the idea is that if the importance is being put on the things that you value, then you want to understand that the way that you live your life or the things that you value, then those things make up and are the consistencies of how you view your life or how you live your life or the things you value. So the question becomes, what do you value? Mm-hmm. And how do you see yourself in those things? And whatever you value, nobody is telling you that, well, you shouldn't value this, you should value that. I think we have to be very careful with those arguments, because you valuing one thing and me valuing another doesn't necessarily make you right and me wrong. It makes us different. Mm-hmm. And I think that starting there really helps to create a place of understanding where we're able to really connect, and that we can talk on a level of being able to really rationalize of, okay, this is what you value and this is what's important to you. This is what I value and this is what is important to me. So the line is really just saying that when it comes to poetry, a lot of us value being able to get on stage and speak to people and move crowds and to generate a certain reaction. But really, life is everything that led up to that point and everything that you do when you get off the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So that, like, that's your poem. Like, when you stand on stage and deliver a poem, like, that's an amalgamation of everything that happened before that. And then when you come off the stage, you're actually continuing to write your poem in the way that you're living your life.
Yes. Woo! And for me, something I heard you say when I was living in Florida, and I had the honor of being able to be around you more, that really resonated with me and has influenced how I do artist development or youth development, is when you talked about how your focus isn't in the art, it's in the artist.
Absolutely.
So cultivating the human being, the artist, rather than just getting them to crank out good art.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, one of our vision, the vision for Heard 'Em Say, is to produce morally and culturally responsible young adults who have the confidence and experience to create measurable impact in their communities, as well as in the hearts, minds, and spirits of those who are touched by their talents and skills. The goal is to produce not only great artists, but great people.
Yes.
And unfortunately, and this is something that I'm going to have a keep it real moment.
Let's do it.
One of the things that I tell my young people is that one of the things that I refuse to have happen is you be a great poet, you're great as an artist, but you suck as a person.
Yes.
And I've seen and met, unfortunately, a couple of those people.
Yep.
On stage, they're great, they're magnanimous, they're, very overwhelming and compelling. But then oftentimes the person that you meet off the stage is like, wow, what happened to the person that was on the stage?
Exactly.
And, I know that oftentimes, we go through different things where, a person may have some things going on, but what the whole idea is that our art and the way that we go about administering it and sharing it should be a reflection and an extension of who we are.
Exactly.
And I know we have layers, but we just have to be careful that we're not putting on a facade and putting on a show. And for me, maybe that particular perspective comes from, again, my roots with poetry and spoken word. I didn't get in this because I enjoyed writing. I didn't start doing this because I wanted to get girls. I did it because I had problems.
Yeah.
So it was uncovering and pulling back those layers and getting to the root of who I really was, and using art to help make me a better person, to help me deal with my issues. And as you mentioned, we have the power and the opportunity to do that with these young people.
Yep.
And to show them that with whatever it is that you're experiencing, whatever you walk through, the trials, the tribulations, wherever you are right now, like, you're an overcomer. Like, you're still breathing.
Yes.
You may have court cases pending, you may have wounds and scars, but you got stories to tell, and you have a life to live that can inspire other people, and that you can use as the fuel and the conduit to propel you into your purpose and your destiny. And
exactly.
So that, again, I think that's where the power of art really lives, in really understanding that.
And I think what you shared too is the most powerful and valuable asset you have at this very moment is your story.
Absolutely.
And I want to recommend people who are feeling down, or that, life is really pressing on you. I want you to just write down the characteristics of a survivor. Just write it down. Just from the mind, just write down maybe 10 things. And then I want you to see how many of those things are showing up in your life, because I bet you almost all of them. So like Wally B was saying, you are a survivor, you're an overcomer. And we want to encourage you to keep pushing through that. And we want to encourage you to donate to Heard 'Em Says, which you can go to heardemsay.org or the show notes below. Wally B and I are also excited to let you know that I'm going to be launching an online open mic creative expression session. It's going to start July 10th. Wally B is going to be the first feature. So you're going to get to see us, talking together. Wally B is going to perform. We're also going to have a little writing workshop in the beginning. Wally B has probably facilitated an unlimited amount of writing workshops. So I'm so hyped that the fact that not only will we get to see you perform, but some of your genius will pour through in that. And that once again is going to be on July 10th at noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Notes for that are below too. So Wally, want to thank you so much for joining us, for all your brilliance, your awesomeness. There's so much more to unpack. We didn't even get to talk about that your full-time artistry and
Yes.
maybe let's just go over just a little bit, just a half a second. Can you plug the decision, how you came to that decision to pursue your dreams full-time?
Okay, so I have been a full-time artist for the past 9 months. Now, if you've been watching this particular telecast in this session, you remember that I started performing in 1998 and then, started a venue. So I was doing a lot of the things that I'm doing now while still maintaining a full-time job as a facilities manager at the University of South Florida here in Tampa. And the work that I was doing, that I was blessed to do with young people, I'm always encouraging them to follow their passions and follow their goals and follow their dreams. And I'm always meeting with parents who are really adamant that there is no future in art, that they need to be focused on things that's going to give them economic stability for the future. And so there was one time I was talking to a young person, and it was one of my students, and I was talking to them about their passions and their gifts, and a little voice in my head said, "Are you listening to yourself?"
Ooh. That's a tough
Are
one.
you listening to yourself?
Yes.
And I tried to ignore it, and it said it again. Are you listening to yourself?
Mm.
And I said, well, it's different for me. I'm in my 30s. I'm married. I have children. I got responsibilities. And then the voice said, oh, so basically there's an age limit on when you can pursue your passions and your dreams. So basically, if you don't do it at a certain time, you need to give up on it and just, and you can help other people, but it's too late for you. And so I was kind of stuck on stupid right there. To make a long story short, on August 28th of 2015, I left my job at the University of South Florida after 15 years of great, dedicated, hard service in order to become a full-time artist and to dedicate myself fully into helping Heard 'Em Say as a full-fledged organization. I've been able to tour and just really, again, devote all of my talent and energy and attention towards this great healing art known as spoken word poetry. And it's been absolutely amazing. It's been incredible.
And I'm just like, the blessings the world is going to receive from you making that switch, that now we get you full time. That's so amazing. It reminds me of Ivan Van Sertima wrote, They Came Before Columbus. He's got a great YouTube clip that I recommend finding. I don't know the name of it, but he talked about how it's such a myth that our capitalist society places value on a limited age range, right? And then they say you have to perform brilliantly by then or you're done. Kind of like the same range as they tell sports players. You got your like 19 to 29. And he was saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're a pastor, but he said Moses didn't even see the burning bush till 40, didn't split the Red Sea till 80. So like we got our whole lives here. So I love how you talked about that. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, Moses, and just to clarify, Moses was 80. Like Moses was in the wilderness for 80 years. He left Egypt when he was 40.
Okay.
And I love that story because that was one of the stories that I really drew strength from in the Bible, was because at 80 years old, and Moses, in my mind, like he knows he should have been dead. With killing an Egyptian, with fleeing, he knows, and I'm pretty sure he's like, thank God I still have my life. I may not be walking in my purpose and destiny, but I've got wife, I've got children, I've got in-laws who respect and love me. I got a job as a shepherd. Like, I'm good with this.
Yeah.
And then at 80 years old, I don't blame him for making excuses about not going back to the place that I killed someone. It's like, nah, I think I'm good right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and it's interesting you mentioned that, because that was exactly one of the stories that really encouraged me and that I drew inspiration from. And that it's never too late. And to those of you that may be listening, you may not be a young person, you may be an adult, you may have had some issues and things that you've walked through and some experiences. It is never too late. one of the things that I really am excited about and am glad to have seen over the past few years are the amount and the age of older people that are going back to school, getting
Yes.
their degrees, getting their education. And not that it's about the education. What it's about is these individuals that have said, I want to go back and do this. And I want to finish something that I may have started. And it's not too late. And I'm so glad that that's becoming a norm now for a lot of our elders in the community to go back and get something that means something to them.
Yes, indeed. And, and by elders joining that or going back, for me, my degree was Africology. Some schools call it Black Studies.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like 50 to 60% of my classmates were 40 and up.
Nice.
And at the time when I'm 19, 20, that seems old to me. Now it doesn't. So that was amazing. And getting to hear that life experience, that life knowledge. So, age diversity is amazing, which is why we both believe in youth adult partnerships. And we're going to encourage all our adults out there to donate to Heard 'em Say, heardemsay.org, or show notes below. Once again, Wally B and I are going to be, he's going to be the feature for the From the Heart open mic, July 10th, noon Pacific Standard Time. This is going to be it for the interview portion. If I could make one more selfish request, Wally. I'm like, forget the time. I'm feeling this. If I could make one more selfish request, you had said, which poems do you want to hear? And I said, I don't know, whatever you want to do. I do have, it's the poem I asked you to perform every time I see you.
Which one is that?
If we could close with you performing your poem about your daughters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Do you think you could do that for us?
Sure. So
okay, cool.
This is one of my signature pieces, and it's based on a true story. And the poem is called God Gave Me Girls. And so this guy tells me, upon hearing the news that I'm about to have daughter number 2, he says to me that real men make men. And since I can't seem to pass on my Y chromosome, then I must not have what it takes to train one, let alone make one. He says all of this while watching me tutor his son. Algebra, combining like terms. Learn the value of X and Y by isolating the variable to one side, and I can't lie. Secretly, it does hurt, because a man's worth can often be tied to his ability to procreate males, regardless of whether or not he stays. And honestly, every man dreams of having a son one day. Someone to carry on his last name and somehow make up for all the mistakes he made, but God gave me girls. And since I believe in destiny and not fate, I have to trust that God planned it this way. I'm just not really sure why. Maybe he wanted me to know what it was like to be on the opposite sides of the games I used to play. I mean, I used to hear it a lot. But when did you ever think about a girl's father before you took her out? What it must have been like to be in his shoes and the fact that you could be him one day. Or maybe because the way the world is headed, God knew that I'd bring my daughters up to be strong women. Or maybe he just wanted me to be thankful for what I was given. Because how many times you gotten exactly what you asked for and then regretted that you asked for it? How many times that you got the exact person you wanted, you felt like you would be happy, only to realize you keep picking men that remind you of your daddy, or women that remind you of your mother, and the qualities you would like to see in them, in him or her. The first relationship we ever have with the person of the opposite sex is with our parents, regardless of whether they're present or absent. And since God gave me girls, I'm charged with setting a good example and to handle my business, regardless of what the situation is. See, that's what real men do. I aced Algebra 2 because I always knew how to find the true value of X and Y. Isolate boys and girls to opposite sides, and you'll find that although their needs are different, their values are equivalent, congruent with the father's influence. And I use my patience to keep the equation balanced. So if you think it takes more talent to train your sons, talk to me when your child runs up to you asking if they're matching because they were dressed by their mother. And when it comes to fashion, they don't really trust her. Not like they trust their daddy. Get at me when you spend your Friday evenings greasing your child's hair with a jar of Sulfur 8 and then spend 2 hours trying to get the part in the middle of her hair straight. Holler at me, you got to take your child to the restroom in public, but girls can't touch nothing. So you got to hold her up over the toilet seat and then pray to God that you don't get hit with pee. Tell me you know the theme song to Hannah Montana, Dora the Explorer, a High School Musical. And maybe then You can relate to what I'm going through, but until then, I will be waiting on your son on the front lawn with a shotgun, a bathrobe, church socks, and house slippers. Just so he remembers that anytime he takes out Charmian or Simone, they're never really alone. So yeah, bring her back home the same way that they left. Because when God gives girls, he gives us the best.
Woo! Thank you so much, Wally B. Where can people find you?
Best place to find me is on Facebook. I go by Walter Wally B Jennings. That's Wally and then B. Last name Jennings is Jennings. And you can also find me on heardhimsay.org as well. Information on me and the organization and everything that I'm involved in.
So amazing. We want to thank you so much, Wally B, for the time you spent with us, the genius, and everything you do in the community. And want to wish you peace and blessings in your journey.
Man, to God be the glory. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Tom, and congratulations for the amazing work that you're doing out on the West Coast. And just so you know, we're very sad that we lost you, but we're very proud and excited for the amazing work that you continue to do. And peace and blessings to you and your individual and collective group pursuits as well.
Thank you so much. And as always, you can find the recording for this at tomearl.com. I'd love for you to snap me and let me know what you think of it at Tom Earl Artist. All other social medias at Tom Earl Artist. We want to thank you so much for stopping by. We wish you peace and blessings. Thank you.